The legend of fear in the far reaches of the galaxy. There was a name that every alien whispered in fear. No one dared to speak it loudly. No one dared to look her in the eyes. She was known as the Shadow Queen, a mysterious female alien whose power was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Across countless planets and star systems, stories of her spread like wildfire. Some said she could control the minds of entire armies. Others believed she could destroy planets with just a thought. But no one really knew the truth. She never appeared in public, and those who met her rarely lived to tell the tale. Alien men and women alike stayed far away from the places she was rumored to visit. Traders changed their routes, soldiers tightened their patrols, and even the bravest warriors felt a chill in their hearts when her name was mentioned. One cold night on the desert planet of Zerion, a group of alien miners sat around a campfire. They spoke in hushed voices, their eyes darting nervously to the dark horizon. "I saw her once," whispered Grell, a tall alien with green skin and sharp claws. "She walked through the shadows like she was part of the night itself. I swear her eyes glowed like two burning stars." Another miner shook his head. "You must be dreaming, Grell. No one sees the Shadow Queen and lives. You're lucky you're alive." But Grell's eyes were serious. "I'm telling the truth. We barely escaped that night. Her power is real and it's coming back." Meanwhile, far from Zerion, the Galactic Council gathered in the massive floating city of Zenithar. Leaders from dozens of planets debated how to handle the growing fear of the Shadow Queen. Some wanted to send armies to find and capture her. Others believed it was safer to avoid her completely. "Fear is spreading too fast," said High Commander Sailor. "If she is real, we must act before panic destroys our unity." But Elder Kira, a wise alien from the planet Velser, disagreed. "We do not know what she wants. She may not be a threat. We must learn more before we act." As the debate continued, the galaxy held its breath. No one knew what the Shadow Queen wanted or why she remained hidden for so long. Thousands of light years away on a small human spaceship, Captain James Carter stared at the star map in front of him. Humans had heard the stories too, but they thought of them as myths, stories to scare children. Humans believed in exploration and hope. That was their strength. James was different. He was curious about the unknown, especially this Shadow Queen everyone feared. His ship, the Star Voyager, was on a mission to explore uncharted space. If the stories were true, finding her would be the greatest discovery in human history. One day, while scanning a remote sector near the edge of the galaxy, James's sensors picked up an unusual signal. It was faint, but unlike anything recorded before. It seemed to come from a small, hidden planet cloaked in dark clouds. Against the advice of his crew, James decided to investigate. "We have to know the truth," he told them. "If she's out there, we must find her." As they approached the planet, the tension on the ship grew. The crew whispered about the dangers they might face. Some were scared, some were excited, but James remained calm and focused. When the Star Voyager landed, the atmosphere was thick and heavy. Strange sounds echoed from the dense forests, and the sky was dark even during the day. James stepped out, feeling both fear and wonder. Deep in the shadows of the planet, he saw her for the first time. She was standing silently among the tall trees, her long silver hair flowing in the wind. Her eyes glowed softly, not with anger or hate, but with something else, sadness and loneliness. The stories never said she was lonely. James took a cautious step forward, and she turned to face him. For a moment, the whole world seemed to stop. "Who are you?" James asked quietly. The alien woman did not speak. Instead, she raised her hand and a gentle wave of energy washed over the clearing. James felt calm, almost as if she was trying to communicate without words. Suddenly, the sky darkened and distant stars seemed to flicker. It was as if the galaxy itself was watching this meeting. Back on Zerion and across the stars, aliens sensed a shift. The shadow of fear was starting to change. The Shadow Queen was no longer just a legend. She was real, and a human had found her. What would happen next? Would the galaxy's fears come true? Or was there something more beneath the surface? Only time would tell. The human's discovery. The moment Captain James Carter met her, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The mysterious alien woman, known only as the Shadow Queen, stood quietly in the thick shadows of the alien forest. Her glowing eyes watched him closely, but she said nothing. There was a calm power in her presence, but also a deep sadness that no legend had ever told. James didn't know what to expect. Was she dangerous? A monster? Or something else? Every warning from his crew echoed in his mind, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. Slowly he lowered his weapon and took another step closer. "I'm not here to hurt you," James said softly. "I want to understand." The woman's eyes softened for a moment. Then without a word, she turned and walked deeper into the forest. James followed, unsure if she wanted him to stay or leave. The forest was dark, but the glowing plants lit their path like small stars on the ground. Strange sounds whispered through the air, some beautiful, some eerie. James felt like he was entering another world, a place forgotten by time. As they walked, James noticed marks on her skin, ancient symbols that pulsed faintly with light. They seemed to tell a story, but what kind? He tried to remember everything. He knew about alien languages, but these symbols were unlike anything he had ever seen. Suddenly, the woman stopped by a large tree, its bark twisted and glowing faintly. She touched the tree gently and a hidden door opened silently at its base. "Wait," James said, his heart pounding. "What is this place?" She looked at him, and this time she spoke one word, soft but clear. Sanctuary. Inside, the air was cool and smelled of earth and water. The walls were covered with more glowing symbols, telling stories of ancient wars, lost civilizations, and powerful magic that once ruled the galaxy. It was a history no alien or human had known. James realized this was her home, the place she hid from the galaxy's fear and hatred. But why? What was she hiding from? Before he could ask, the silence was broken by a loud explosion outside. The ground trembled beneath their feet. James rushed to the entrance and looked out. Dark ships, dozens of them, were descending from the sky. Aliens, heavily armed, had found her. "They've come for you," James said, turning to her. "Who are they?" The woman's eyes grew cold. "Hunters. They want to destroy what I am." James looked at the ships preparing to attack. He felt a sudden rush of anger. This mysterious woman, feared by the galaxy, was about to be attacked by those who did not understand her. Without hesitation, James ran back inside. "We need to protect this place. Can you fight?" She nodded slowly. "I can." The next moments were a whirlwind of light and shadow. The Shadow Queen moved with grace and power James had never seen. She sent waves of energy that stopped the alien attackers in their tracks. But there were too many of them, and the sanctuary was not built for war. James helped as best as he could, firing his weapons and protecting the woman from the attackers who tried to break inside. As the battle raged, James saw something unexpected. She was not a monster. She was fighting to protect herself in this secret place. When the last alien ship fled, silence returned. The sanctuary was safe, but just barely. James looked at the woman, breathing hard. "Why do they fear you so much? What are you hiding?" She sat down on a glowing stone and looked away. "I carry a power that can change the galaxy. A power they cannot control. They want to stop it no matter the cost." James felt a chill. "What kind of power?" She finally looked at him fully. "The power to unite or destroy, to bring peace or war." The weight of her words settled heavily on James's shoulders. This was no ordinary discovery. He had found a being who could change everything the galaxy knew about power, fear, and hope. But now the question was, could he help her? Could a human survive in a galaxy where every alien feared her? As the stars shone faintly outside the sanctuary, James made a silent promise. He would protect her secret no matter what. Together they might rewrite the future. Yet far away, the Galactic Council watched the news of the attack with growing alarm. A new mission was already forming. One to capture the Shadow Queen at any cost. The galaxy's fear was turning into a hunt, and the hunt was just beginning. The forbidden truth. The sanctuary was quiet now, but the tension in the air was thick. Captain James Carter sat beside the mysterious woman, who had not yet told him her name. The glow of the strange symbols on the walls flickered gently, casting shadows that danced across their faces. James still had many questions. Who was she really? Why did the entire galaxy fear her so much? And what was this power she carried? The woman's voice was soft but steady when she finally spoke. My name is Lyra. I am not what the stories say. James listened carefully as Lyra began to tell her story. A story so different from the legends that filled the stars. Long ago, she said, there was peace between the worlds. I was born in a time when aliens and humans worked together. But power corrupts and fear grew. They feared what they did not understand, my power. So they hunted me. James leaned forward. What kind of power? What do you mean? Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as she explained. I have the ability to control energy, the very life force that binds all living things. With it, I can heal or destroy. I can bring light to darkness or plunge worlds into shadow. James was amazed but also worried. No wonder they want to capture you, but why hide? Why not use your power to help others? Lyra looked away, her voice heavy. Because those who fear power will try to use it for their own ends. I have seen what happens when power is taken by those without compassion. I must protect it, or the galaxy will fall into chaos. Suddenly a sharp noise cut through the silence. A small device hidden in the sanctuary began to beep. James reached for it and saw a holographic message. The Galactic Council was sending a team. They had tracked the recent battle and knew Lyra's location. They are coming, James said, his voice tense. We don't have much time. Lyra nodded. They will not stop until they have me. But this time I will not run. Together, they prepared for what was coming. James helped fortify the sanctuary, using technology from his ship. Lyra began to tap into her power, her hands glowing with an intense light. As night fell over the alien planet, the sound of engines echoed through the sky. The Council's fleet arrived, larger and more powerful than before. Ships surrounded the sanctuary, ready to strike. Inside, James felt a strange connection with Lyra. Despite her fearsome reputation, she was more human than any alien he had met. He realized that the galaxy's fear was not just about power, it was about misunderstanding and prejudice. The Council sent a message demanding Lyra surrender. James saw the anger in her eyes, but also a spark of hope. I will fight, she said quietly. Not to destroy, but to protect. The battle began. Outside, lasers cut through the dark skies. Inside, Lyra's power surged, creating shields of light and waves of energy that pushed the enemy back. James fought alongside her, protecting the sanctuary's weak points. But then something unexpected happened. One of the Council's ships broke through the defenses and sent a beam straight into the sanctuary. The ground shook, and part of the wall crumbled. James shouted, "We have to fall back." Lyra grabbed his arm. No, this is where we stand. Her eyes flashed brighter than ever, and the entire sanctuary trembled with her power. The Council's forces hesitated, fear returning to their ranks. Suddenly a voice came through the sanctuary's comm system. It was Elder Kira from the Galactic Council, but her tone was different, softer, almost pleading. Lyra, we do not want more war. Let us talk. James looked at Lyra, waiting for her answer. For a moment, everything was still. Then, slowly, she lowered her hands, and the light faded. I will listen, she said. The galaxy was on the edge of war, but here in this hidden place, a chance for peace had begun. James knew this was only the beginning. The forbidden truth about Lyra's power was out now, and the whole galaxy would soon have to choose, fear or hope. the galactic threat. The moment Lyra agreed to speak with the Galactic Council, the fragile hope of peace seemed to grow. But far beyond the sanctuary's walls, darker forces stirred in the shadows of the galaxy. The council was divided. Some sought understanding, but others saw only a threat that must be destroyed. Captain James Carter and Lyra prepared for the tense meeting. The sanctuary was no longer just a hiding place. It had become a symbol of what might be possible, or what might be lost forever. As the council's emissaries arrived, James could feel the heavy weight of suspicion in the air. The alien representatives wore cold faces, their eyes scanning Lyra with wariness and fear. She returned their gaze without flinching. The meeting began quietly, but tension quickly rose. Some aliens demanded Lyra be handed over, fearing her power was too great. Others urged patience, warning that rushing to violence would only deepen the galaxy's wounds. Elder Kira spoke with calm wisdom. We must find a way to live together, not tear ourselves apart. But just as the talk seemed to gain ground, an urgent alert interrupted the gathering. Scouts reported massive fleets moving toward the sanctuary, ships from a mysterious faction known only as the Black Suns. James felt a cold chill run down his spine. The Black Suns were ruthless mercenaries, feared across the galaxy for their cruelty and hunger for power. They answered to no one and hunted anyone who threatened their interests. They're coming for Lyra, James whispered. Lyra's expression hardened. The Black Suns want to steal my power and use it to rule the galaxy. They will destroy anyone who stands in their way. Panic spread through the council chambers. The emissaries scrambled to organize defenses, but no fleet was strong enough to face the Black Suns alone. James and Lyra returned to the sanctuary as fast as possible. The once peaceful place was now a fortress, with alien soldiers and human crew preparing for the inevitable battle. The sky darkened as the Black Suns' ships appeared, like a swarm of deadly shadows blotting out the stars. Their weapons glowed with dark energy, and their commanders shouted orders with fierce urgency. James checked his gear and looked at Lyra. We're ready, but this fight will be unlike any other. Lyra nodded. I must protect not just myself, but the future of the galaxy. If I fail, everything we've hoped for will be lost. As the Black Suns launched their attack, the sanctuary shook with blasts of energy and fire. Lyra's powers flared brilliantly. She sent waves of light that tore through enemy ships and shields that shimmered like glass. James fought beside her, his heart pounding as he faced enemy fighters that seemed endless. Every moment was a battle for survival, every second a test of courage. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the sanctuary's outer wall. The Black Suns had found a way in. James raced to the breach, weapons firing at enemies pouring through the gap. He saw a shadow move quickly toward Lyra, one of the Black Sun's deadly assassins. With a roar, James threw himself between Lyra and the assassin. They clashed in a fierce fight, but James's strength and determination held. Lyra's eyes blazed with power as she joined the battle. Together they pushed the enemy back, but the cost was high. The sanctuary was damaged, and many defenders were injured. In the chaos, Lyra whispered to James, "This war is far from over. The Black Suns are only the beginning. Others will come." James looked into her glowing eyes and knew the truth. This was not just a fight for survival. It was a battle for the very soul of the galaxy. As the sanctuary's lights flickered and the sounds of distant battles echoed, James made a silent vow. He would stand with Lyra against every threat, no matter how dark the future seemed. The galaxy was changing. Fear was rising again, but so was hope, and the greatest battle was yet to come: the Hidden Alliance. The sanctuary was scarred but still stood. Outside, the stars blinked cold and distant, as if watching the growing storm across the galaxy. Captain James Carter and Lyra knew this victory was only temporary. The Black Suns had been driven back, but their message was clear. No one was safe. Inside the dimly lit chamber, Lyra traced her fingers over the glowing symbols that covered the walls. "The Black Suns are only a part of a larger force," she said quietly. "There is a shadow behind them, an enemy no one speaks of openly. James's brow furrowed. Who? Why haven't the council warned us? Lyra looked up, her eyes steady. Because some in the council serve that shadow. They want the galaxy to fall into chaos so they can rise to power. The weight of her words settled heavily in the room. James realized the battle was not just against outsiders, it was against betrayal from within. Suddenly, the comm system crackled. A secret message arrived, encrypted and urgent. It was from an unknown source, someone calling themselves the Watcher. We have been watching, the message said. You are not alone. There is a hidden alliance ready to stand with you, but trust is scarce and danger is close. Meet us at the ruins of Jaren before the next moon rises. James and Lyra exchanged glances. It was a risk, but they had no choice. If they wanted to survive, they needed allies, even if those allies hid in shadows. As they prepared to leave, James felt a strange mixture of hope and fear. Every step forward seemed to pull them deeper into a web of secrets and danger. The journey to Jaren was tense. The ruins were ancient and silent, broken towers reaching toward the sky like forgotten ghosts. When they arrived, a group emerged from the darkness. Aliens of many species, dressed in cloaks and carrying weapons but with eyes full of determination. We are the Hidden Alliance, said a tall alien woman with silver hair. We've waited for someone like you, someone who sees the truth beyond fear. James stepped forward. We need to stop the Black Suns and the Shadow in the Council. Together. The Alliance nodded. But the Shadow moves quickly. We have little time. Suddenly, alarms blared. The ruins shook as enemy ships appeared, closing in fast. The Black Suns and Council traders had found them. Chaos erupted. James and Lyra fought alongside the Alliance using every skill and power they had. But the enemies were ruthless and well prepared. In the heat of battle, Lyra's power flared in ways even she had not expected. Shields that could heal, blasts that could freeze time for a moment. Her connection to the life force of the galaxy was growing stronger. Yet just as hope seemed within reach, a traitor in their midst revealed himself. A trusted member of the Alliance turned on them, opening the gates for the enemy. James caught the traitor's eyes, cold, calculating. You don't understand what you're doing, James said fiercely. The traitor smiled. I understand perfectly. Power belongs to those who take it. The battle turned desperate. Friends fell. The ruins trembled under the assault. But in the darkest moment, Lyra reached deep into her power, summoning a brilliant wave of energy that pushed the enemy back and sealed the gates once more. Breathing hard, James looked at her in awe. You're more than a legend. You're the future. Lyra smiled softly but warned. The future is still uncertain. The shadow is stronger than we thought. We must be ready. As the dust settled, the Alliance gathered around them, battered but unbroken. They had survived the attack, but the war had only just begun. James knew that to save the galaxy, they would have to face enemies everywhere, some seen, some hidden in the darkest corners of power. And through it all, he would stand with Lyra, the Yao, woman who changed everything. The universe was waiting, and so was its destiny. The betrayal. Within, the Alliance was shaken but unbroken. The ruins of Jaren stood silent once more, bathed in the pale light of the moon. But the victory was hollow. The shadow in the Galactic Council was closer than ever. Captain James Carter and Lyra knew their enemies were no longer just outside forces. Betrayal ran deep within their own ranks. As they regrouped in a hidden base deep in an asteroid belt, whispers of suspicion filled the air. Every glance held doubt. Every silence seemed loaded with secrets. Trust was fragile. The Watcher's warning echoed in James's mind. Trust is scarce, and danger is close. Lyra paced slowly, her glowing eyes scanning the gathered faces. We must find the traitor before they strike again, she said, her voice calm but firm. If they remain hidden, everything we fight for will be lost. James agreed. We need to be careful. The traitor could be anyone. Over the next Days, the Alliance worked to uncover the spy. Tensions grew as accusations flew and old friendships cracked. James found himself questioning even his closest allies. One night, as the base prepared for rest, a sudden alarm shattered the silence. The base was under attack, from inside. James rushed to the command center to find it breached. Screens flickered, with strange symbols, and a figure moved swiftly through the shadows. It was the traitor. A fierce battle broke out in the narrow corridors. The traitor fought with skill and cruelty, using technology that bent light and twisted reality. James and Lyra fought side by side, their combined strength pushing back the enemy. Finally, James cornered the traitor in the control room. The mask slipped off to reveal a shocking face. Elder Kira herself. "Why?" James demanded, disbelief and anger burning in his voice. Kira's eyes were cold. "Because peace is a lie. Power is the only truth. The galaxy needs a ruler, not dreamers." Lyra stepped forward, her power humming in the air. "You betray everything you claim to protect." Kira smiled darkly. "I protect the future. A future where the weak are crushed and the strong rule." James and Lyra exchanged a glance. This was no longer a simple fight. It was a war for the soul of the galaxy. Before they could act, Kira triggered a hidden device. The base trembled as self-destruct protocols activated. "Run!" James shouted. "We must get out now!" They raced through collapsing tunnels, dodging blasts and debris. Just as the exit sealed behind them, Lyra unleashed a final burst of energy that shattered the base's core. Outside, aboard their ship, James looked back at the smoking ruins. The betrayal cut deep, but it also steeled their resolve. "We've lost much," Lyra said softly, "but we will not give up." James nodded. "We'll expose the shadow and fight for the galaxy's future. Together." As the stars stretched out before them, the war was far from over. But with trust rebuilt and a new fire burning in their hearts, James and Lyra prepared to face the greatest battle yet. The galaxy held its breath, and the final storm was coming. The final reckoning. The galaxy was on the edge of chaos. The betrayal of Elder Kira had shattered the fragile peace, and the shadow within the council was no longer hidden. Captain James Carter and Lyra, now bound by trust and a fierce determination, raced against time to rally the scattered forces of the hidden alliance. Every system they reached was a battlefield of suspicion and fear. Some worlds closed their doors, afraid to face the coming storm. Others sent warriors willing to fight for a future beyond fear. But the shadow's reach was long. Spies and traitors lurked everywhere. Lyra's power had grown stronger, but so had the darkness that sought to consume the galaxy. The Black Suns regrouped, their numbers swelling with mercenaries hungry for control. The Galactic Council itself teetered on collapse, divided and powerless. In the heart of the capital, beneath the gleaming towers of the Council, James and Lyra led the Alliance's final stand. The enemy advanced with overwhelming force, ready to crush the rebellion once and for all. As the battle raged, James found himself face to face with Elder Kira. Their fight was fierce, not just of weapons, but of wills and beliefs. Kira taunted James with visions of a galaxy ruled by strength and fear, but James held firm. True strength comes from hope, unity, and trust. That is what you will never understand. Meanwhile, Lyra unleashed her full power, her eyes blazing like twin stars. She reached deep into the energy that bound the universe, calling forth a brilliant light that pierced the darkness. The enemy faltered, their weapons flickering in the glow. Just when victory seemed near, a terrible truth was revealed. The shadow was not just a faction or a person. It was an ancient force older than the stars themselves, feeding on fear and division. Lyra and James realized their fight was bigger than anyone had imagined. To save the galaxy, they would have to unite every race, every world, and confront this ancient darkness together. In a moment of pure courage, Lyra stepped into the heart of the enemy's power, channeling all her strength to seal away the darkness. The effort drained her, but the light that spread across the galaxy was worth the sacrifice. James held her as she faded, whispering, "You changed everything." As peace slowly returned, the galaxy began to heal. The legends of fear became stories of hope and courage. James stood among new friends and allies, ready to rebuild what was lost. The universe was vast and full of mystery. But one thing was certain. As long as there were those willing to stand against the darkness, hope would never die. And so the story of the woman who changed the galaxy became a beacon for generations to come.